Hello everybody and welcome to another reading vlog. I'm happy to be back here. During Vlogmas I talked about books a little bit, but now I thought, if you saw the title you know, that we could do reading until I find a 5-star book. Last year I had at least one 5-star every single month except for December, and I think that's just because I was trying to meet multiple goals at the end of the year that I had made for myself at the beginning of the year. So I tried to make a few less goals this year, and I'm also going to do, I think, a mid-year check-in. We'll see if that works. Anyway, I picked my January TBR off camera. I did it towards the last week of December, I think, after Vlogmas, before January started, but I chose prompts just for myself, and then a couple of days later I was like, let me just actually take photos of these and put them on my TikTok so at least it exists somewhere. We are going to try to find a 5-star book within my January TBR. I am starting with Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr because this is a library book that I actually chose for my December TBR. Got out from the library, didn't end up reading it yet. So I started this yesterday on January 1st. It is the 2nd today, and I made it 52 pages in. A very good start. I just really needed sleep and I was laying in bed reading and I fell asleep. So that's as far as I got yesterday, but I'm gonna keep reading it. It is from the author of All the Light We Cannot See, which I read, I want to say like 3 years ago now, and I liked. I didn't love it as much as other people seemed to, but I think that was the story more than the writing. I think I enjoyed the writing, so we'll see. This is about a girl named Constance is what it says, but we are actually shifting very many perspectives. So it starts with Constance in the prologue, and I think she's from way into the future, and she is studying the importance of a story, but the story seems to be a made-up story by children in 2020. And then there's also Constantinople in like the 1400s, 1300s. I'm enjoying it. I'm a bit confused, but the writing is good and it's keeping me interested. So at this point, I have no idea if it's going to be a 5-star book. I don't know what I would do if the first book was 5 stars. I am purely reading this one because it's a library book. I'm not sure how much reading I'll get done today, but let's get into it. I hope I find a 5-star read. What will I do if this is never ending? It is Saturday morning. I read about 10 more pages, 12 more pages of Cloud Cuckoo Land, and I am finding this very difficult to get into. I'm not sure if it's too many characters or I just don't really understand what's happening in the past. I love a historical fiction. Like, I really enjoy reading about the past, but I'm very confused about this timeline. It's just about these two kids living their lives separately and shit going down, and I'm sure they're gonna meet eventually and become friends, but I'm pretty confused about what's going on and the purpose. I think maybe that's what it is. Because of the prologue where there's this girl trying to put pieces together, I'm confused about the purpose of this book. It's too early to DNF. I'm obviously not gonna do that, and I would also hate to DNF my first book of the year. I'm not enjoying it yet. I don't feel connected to the characters. I think that that's hard to do with this many characters in 60 pages because I've already met 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think? 5 or 6 characters. Oh my goodness, Kelso's like so cute right now. Anyway, I had breakfast, I had coffee, I should drink some water. I'm gonna put on a playlist, I'm gonna read for an hour and see how I feel about the book, and then go from there. But at this point, not a 5-star. I'm just about to get ready for bed, so I thought that I should check in because I am halfway through Cloud Cuckoo Land. I have a lot of mixed feelings about this one. As of today, reading it, this reading session I've done, I can't put it down. I am really, really enjoying it. I mean, in saying that, I did just take a 30-minute TikTok scroll break because I felt like I needed it, but it is kind of an intoxicating story. We're still following 4 main timelines, I would say, and they are all being connected by this ancient Greek story. So Anna finds it in the 1400s, and Zeno, I would say, is the main character of this story. We follow him from 12 years old until his late 80s now, and he has a lot of things tying him to this story throughout his entire life, childhood to adulthood. this has been a part of his life. There's one timeline that I'm not totally following. I did just have this moment where I recognized what the prologue was trying to do. So that was good because it was like, oh, it's coming full circle now. I'm finally getting a little bit of context for this prologue at the beginning. But I am curious where that story is going to go the most, and we get that one the least. And that is set in the future, I assume. Yeah, so in these 4 timelines we're getting, I am actually really enjoying 2 of them, which is Constance and Zeno. And I'm finding the other ones, so Anna and Omer is how I've been saying his name. They take place at the same time, but they don't know each other yet. I'm assuming they're going to meet, but currently they don't know each other, but they are both 1400s Constantinople. And then there's Seymour, whose story kind of blends with Zeno sometimes, but it's like 20-year-old Seymour with 85-year-old Zeno at the same time. So not a total blend, but this story has impacted them both greatly and has turned them into completely opposite people, I would say, which is very interesting. So maybe that doesn't give a lot of context, but I am enjoying it. I hope I can finish it tomorrow. I don't think I'll be able to. I am kind of flying through it, and like I say, I'm not totally enjoying it, and sometimes I'm like a little bit annoyed with some stuff that's happening, but I can't put it down. So I don't really know what that means for me right now. The Constantinople stuff is not my favorite, which I thought it would be because I like historical fiction, but I'm more interested in the future sci-fi aspect of this book, which is interesting because I didn't think that I would be. I do like that it is a book about books and libraries. There is a theme of libraries. Maybe that's the problem. The stuff that I like is a little bit far and few between, where the stuff that makes up the bulk of the story I'm less interested in. But that's okay.
I don't want to read this anymore. So sad. Something so sad just happened. I can't spoil it at all, but it just... oh. Anyway. I'm sad.
I was reading this and then I fell asleep weeping.
I weep. I'm a major weeper.
I will say, I was reading this longer than I should have. I did not realize what time it was. I was planning on closing it at 9:30, and at like 9:50 I took that video. Tells you that my feelings on the book are improving, and then right after I took that, I put my book down and I went to bed. And I fell asleep. Let's just say thinking about my loved one's mortality. Yeah, there have been some gnarly scenes in here. I still can't tell you what I was crying about, but like if you've read this book, it is in the Constantinople timeline. Something happened in part 13, chapter 13, part 13. I will say something that I'm really enjoying about this author's writing specifically is the way he is showing these children and then preteens and now teens learn about the world through their library or a book. Or, I mean, it's the specific book in this case, and I actually looked it up and he made up the story. So he has a book within a book, which is very cool as well. I think what I don't like about multiple timelines in other books is I don't love a flashback where the characters are intrinsically completely tied through everything. So it's someone, I don't know, reading a letter from 50 years ago and it just breaks it up. I don't love that, but this is done a lot better. So I'm really liking the writing. I don't think my thoughts have changed. I don't think it's a 5-star book. I can't rate a book 5 stars that I spent the first half slodging through. I don't know if that's a real word. Anyway, we'll see. I did finish Cloud Cuckoo Land yesterday, like I hoped I would and didn't think I would. Though I did sack off a little bit of work that I had to get done to do it, but that's okay. And my opinion didn't change. The end, I think, could have made or braked. The end could have made or broke it. Make it or break it. The end could have raised my opinion and it lowered it because one of the only characters that I really cared for was the epilogue, and their story just kind of wrapped up very crappily. And then there are a few other characters that it just was like, okay, this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what's happened, you know their whole life story. Oh, and then it's 50 years later and this is their life. I don't like that in a book. It wrapped up way too quickly. It gave me no information that I wanted. I don't want to ruin anything. This might be a spoiler, so if you really want to read this, you can skip it. This whole story is about humans being human and making mistakes, but a big part of it is the world ending. And climate change. And at the end, I don't really know the state of the world, because you're putting me in the future and you're not telling me anything different about the world than it is now. I'm just kind of disappointed by the end. So I thought it might become a 4-star, but I think it actually went down to a 3-star, maybe a 3.5. I'm a little bit disappointed. I thought it would at least be a little bit better than that towards the end. I don't regret reading it because the writing was really beautiful. The writing really picked it up, and the story of humans and the connectivity that they had. The execution of the plot was not for me. And then I was like, should I pick up a book that I don't think is going to be 5 stars? But that would kind of defeat the purpose of this video. I feel like you can't do a video like this hoping for a certain amount of books. So I'm just going to pick up the ones that I think I might rate 5 stars. So I read the first chapter of The Once and Future Witches by Alix E. Harrow. I've read one book by her, 10,000 Doors of June, and I think I gave it quite a high rating. Not a 5-star, but I really liked the writing. I just found the main character a little bit annoying and unrelatable, so I'm hoping that doesn't happen here. But I only read one chapter last night, so I still don't know anything, but we are following James Juniper, who I think just goes by June, and she has escaped her home. I think she might have committed a crime. There's some allusion to murder, and she is wanted, but she took a train to New Salem, and she's a witch. She walks into a suffrage rally in chapter 1, and then it seems like there might be another witch around. I'm going to probably not get much reading done today. I'm pretty busy all day working, and then busy tonight, so not sure when I'll get some reading in today, maybe just before bed, but I'll keep you posted. It has been nearly a week since the last time that you saw me. I read the first 10 pages of The Once and Future Witches, and then I didn't read for like 4 days because I just felt too busy and overwhelmed with life. And then I read for the last 2 days, and I haven't talked about it yet with you because I was quite ill yesterday. I felt really gross, so I didn't want to sit in front of a camera. So it's been almost a week, and I'm still only on book number 2 for this video, about to start chapter 17. Just finished my work day. I'm gonna read for an hour or 2 before we take the dogs out on a little adventure this afternoon. It's beautiful weather, so that's nice at least. I'm really starting to enjoy it. At first, I didn't love our main character, June, who we're following, but we're actually also now switching perspectives from her to her 2 sisters, Angus and Beatrice, also known as Amaranth and Belladonna. That helps me, I think, because June is the youngest, Juniper, and she's a lot for me, but she's also meant to be a lot. I think it's great that she's a lot in an age, especially where women are told that they have to just be calm and can't have their opinions. She is a bit rowdy and has her opinions, and I think that that's important, but sometimes I don't like reading from her perspective as much as other people's. This book is moving quickly in a good way. There's a lot happening, and the story just keeps progressing, and it's taking place over a decent period of time so far. I would say it's been a few months. We're learning a lot all the time, which is really good. I love the pacing of this story so far. That's my favorite part, I want to say, and that's what's keeping me going, is like, oh, I just know something's going to keep happening if I keep reading, and it's not going to be like one more chapter and then, oh, I didn't need to read that. It's actually interesting. So in this world, we are almost at the turn of the 20th century. Is that what you call it when you go from the to the next one? It's almost the 20th century. It's like the 1893 or 6 or something. And we are in New Salem, and there have been some references to Old Salem, which was burnt down 100 years before this. And there's been a couple of references to that and how that was their way of cutting out the witches. And now New Salem is about 100 miles south of Old Salem. And the 3 sisters magically all moved there without knowing that one another moved there. So there was this pull to this place and to each other. These 3 sisters, with June being the most adamant, the youngest, are trying to get the world back to this sense of witching being a good thing and being beneficial and helping the suffragist cause. June got to New Salem, joined a suffragist society, and was like, these people are prim and proper and not angry enough. The women that her and her sisters know from their day-to-day life are like, the vote is not gonna help me not get hit by my husband or make enough money to feed my kids. And they're trying to now create a cause that gets those women involved as well, which is super interesting. It's really tying in gender, race, queerness, poverty, like everything is included. And I think that's so important. It's not avoiding any topic. That adds, I think, to the pacing, that every character has something different that they're facing and has different people in their lives that they can touch with their witchiness. and belief in women's rights, and they're all, I would say, at a different place on the spectrum in where they think women should sit. It uses old fairy tales, which I think is really interesting, and it's the Grimm sisters books, not the Grimm brothers books. There's a fairy tale reference to Jack and Jill, but it's Jane and Jill, I think, which I think is super cool. It's like feminizing everything in a really interesting way. There's a dark power amongst them, and they are trying to figure out who it is, and I have speculations, and I hope they're wrong, and they have speculations, and I think that they are wrong. I think that we are being taken one direction, and it's definitely going to be the other direction, unless it's double bluff, which it totally could be, but I am curious where it's going to go. The only thing that is bothering me about this book is that all three sisters are mistrusting, and they have all the same problems with having these secrets that they're keeping from one another, and they all have miscommunication with each other. And it makes sense because they were raised the same, so obviously they have the same upbringing to maybe not trust the people around them or to be really poor communicators, but it bugs me when it's all three characters that are just keeping secrets from each other, and we know that it's miscommunication. So I hope that we solve that sooner than later. Two of the sisters talked and it was beneficial, so I'm hoping that it happens with the other two, and then the other two. Like a triangle of conversations needs to happen soon, or I will get more annoyed than I already am, but otherwise, really enjoying it. I would say I'm like a third of the way through-ish, so I'm gonna read for the next little while here, at least until I'm done my coffee. I'm not sure if it'll be a 5-star book. I forgot that is the purpose of this video. I haven't filmed in so long that I forgot that's what I was doing. I'm not sure. I have a lot to say for a book that I'm less than 200 pages into, that's for sure. So that's good. The writing's very good. She's a very good author, and I think very distinct writing. Like, this is very original. I'll say that. Just here to add that now I'm about halfway through, and it's reading like I'm in the last 30 pages. Not like there's another 300, which there almost is. How many pages is this? Over 500 pages. I'm halfway. And like, I'm getting this feeling like, oh, we're finally getting to the end. And we're not. So I'm so curious what that means for the actual end. Like, things are coming to fruition now. I'm getting information about people and really big, important things are happening. It's very interesting. Quick book update. I finished The Once and Future Witches last night, like well before bed, which was really nice actually. I'm just going through and annotating all the pages that I folded over. Side note, I hate these kind of pages, whatever you call them, especially when I'm annotating. I can't see any of my little sticky notes because they're just blinded by these edges. I think my last update I talked about how it felt like the end of the book, but I was only like halfway through, and that feeling like stayed throughout. The last half of this book feels like the last 30 pages of a book constantly, which I think is really exciting. It made it very exciting. There was a lot of character growth towards the end that I really, really, really liked, and I still loved the little fairy tales that were part of this, and just this story of womanhood and women coming together and all different kinds of women from all walks of life. It's a very good book. In the end, I rated this 4 stars, so it's still not a 5-star read. I think I wanted something really big to happen at the end. I was imagining something happening and it went a totally different direction, which is fine, but I think I found it a little bit disappointing that that was the direction it went. I expected to cry from this book and I didn't. Just like once I got to the halfway point with the things that were happening, I'm like, something in this is gonna make me weep. And it didn't, which is fine. It's difficult to read this and not draw parallels with what is happening in the US right now, because towards the end of this book, the Inquisitors were going door to door, rounding up women that were accused of being witches and just not giving them fair trial, and they didn't care what they said to defend themselves, and their families didn't know where they were taken to. And that part made me depressed, but also was very important, obviously, that it can be written in history in 1893 and in the 1940s and in the current world. And I think it's important to mention those parallels because they exist. So yeah, 4 stars for this book. And then when I finished that, I started The Starfish Sisters by Barbara O'Neill on my Kindle because this one got chosen for my January TBR because I think I got a prompt saying highest rated book on your TBR, and this has been on my Kindle since I got my Kindle, maybe a month after. I believe it was a Prime first read, which means now I'm actually gonna look it up because it probably doesn't actually have a lot of reviews. It has it has a lot of reviews. It has 4.29 stars from 43,000 ratings. So there's a good chance I rate that 5 stars because it's very popular. So I'm hoping so. Though the writing so far is not my favorite. I don't even know how far, 20 pages, not far. I read like 2 or 3 chapters and then I fell asleep. And then I had sleep paralysis, which was awful. Like 20 minutes after I fell asleep, I woke up just, okay, I'm 20 pages in, and the writing is not my favorite, but it could improve. So we're following Suze and Phoebe and going back and forth from their perspectives, I think. And they met when they were 12 years old. It starts with Suze being taken from her father with her head shaved. I'm wondering if she got pregnant. I'm not sure. That's just a guess because her dad is like super evangelical. And that's the only thing we've learned about her so far is that her mom died young and her dad was really evangelical and she became a Hollywood star. And she was just beat up in front of her house by like some radical Christian group. And now it's 6 months later and she moved back to her hometown, or where she considers her hometown, where her friend Phoebe lives. So they live down the road from each other, but they've had a falling out and we don't know what it's about yet. And that's kind of all I know. So it's another book with secrets about a fight from the past. That's kind of where I'm at with that so far, 20 pages in. So I will keep reading that tonight, but for now I'm going to get to work, go downstairs, and I will let you know how it goes and if it's 5 stars, which I really hope so. I just got ready for bed, but thought that I should do a little update on the Starfish Sisters. I am halfway through and I am enjoying this book. It's not going to be a 5 star, so we are still on the hunt for my first 5 star of 2026, but I'm enjoying it. I think I'm struggling just a little bit because the last book I read had such beautiful writing, and this book I'm kind of struggling with the writing style. There's even like a couple of paragraphs that I had to reread because I just didn't understand what the author was trying to say. So that could be a me problem, but that also makes it just a little bit more difficult to read and takes me out of the story. We are still following Suze and Phoebe, and it is a past and present timeline, which is traditionally not my favorite, and I am kind of struggling with it here as well. In the past, it is mostly them sharing this diary through middle school and mailing it back and forth to each other, which I think is very cool. I think if I knew that was an option with my best friends at 13 years old, I totally would have done that too. And I think she writes the early teenage years well. I much prefer the present, though they do a lot of ruminating in the present about the past as well, so it's kind of weird to me that you even have the past part when you're kind of covering all your bases in the present. So they still haven't told each other their secrets. It seems like they both have a secret, and I'm a little bit worried about what it's going to be, because so far only Suzanne has alluded to what her secret is, and I'm curious if it's going to be the same secret for Phoebe, but opposite, which would be bad in this case. It feels like maybe a friendship that I'm surprised happened as long as it did. They both grew up very jealous of each other, and Phoebe's grandmother, who's like a main point in the story, is like, oh, it's so normal for teenage girls to be jealous of each other. Of course you are. And I'm thinking, not to this extent. It's actually kind of wild, the things that they feel about each other sometimes. Currently, it's really just Suzanne trying to get through mental blocks and her anxiety and all of the things that she's feeling after her awful childhood, by the way. Something else that's really bothering me is that it has mentioned COVID multiple times. By the 3rd time, I was like, okay, is this just gonna be a normal plot point in their history? And I think it is. It's come up a few times. I know that it happened and that it was really big and that actually it's okay for books to bring it up, but it's a bit much. I don't know. It's just a bit weird to me. It seems fast. And I know that this is like also 2 or 3 years old, so I can't imagine reading this in like 2023 and feeling this way, because now I'm a few more years removed and I'm still annoyed by it. So it brings up COVID a little bit too much. I'm just confused about their ages because they talk about how old they are, but they loved Romeo and Juliet when it came out in the 90s. So I'm like, you can't be that old unless it's the future from now. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna keep reading until I fall asleep. It's like after 10 p.m., but it's Friday, so I'm gonna stay up until I fall asleep. It is the next day and I have 15% of this book left, The Starfish Sisters, to read. And I have kind of changed my opinion, if I'm being honest with you. I read quite a bit this morning while I walked on the treadmill and got my steps in. I cried on the treadmill, which is interesting. I think part of my problem is that I haven't read a general fiction in so long. I've just kind of been reading fantasy, a little bit of sci-fi, a little bit of historical fiction, but not just like general fiction about relationships 100%. And that's all this book is about. It is about the relationship between these two women and the side relationships they have, but also Phoebe's daughter and her granddaughter and her grandmother and all these generations of women. And I actually really am starting to love how female-centered this book is. And Phoebe really gets on my nerves. She was self-centered as a child, as a teenager, now as an adult, as what she calls an elderly woman. I still don't know their age. She's also very real and raw. And I feel like I can't complain about that. She just gets on my nerves, but in a very human way. So I'm actually starting to appreciate that part of it. I still think the lies and secrets that they have kept from one another are crazy. And I'm surprised that they stayed friends for now 40 plus years, I'm guessing. And I think I could probably quote word for word what's going to happen in the upcoming conflict that we are just probably a chapter away from. And I really hope I'm wrong. I really hope they have more grace for each other than I am expecting them to have, because these secrets are huge, but I don't think they should be surprising. One of them is. One of them is, and it's annoying because it's Phoebe's secret that is surprising. She is going to play the victim again, I think. They both play the victim a lot, but Suze has more right to, for sure. I think that Phoebe's feelings throughout are justified, but she's still very self-centered and keeps them to herself, and it just lets this resentment build. And everyone in this book needs therapy. And Suze is getting therapy, and that's why I think she's a better person. But I'm also starting to like the writing more. I think, like I said, it's just because I haven't read very much general fiction, and I came from a very, poetic book just, and this one, the descriptions are growing on me, and I can picture every scene and every character, and I love that. It is a little bit repetitive in the descriptions, and like I said, it's going back to the past while you're in the present a little bit too often, while also having a past perspective. I just find it a little bit redundant, so still not a 5-star, but I am enjoying it more than I was. So I have a little snack, have a little protein shake. I just had a workout, so I'm going to finish this book here and now, and then I will come back to you and let you know my final thoughts and maybe start a new book today. I'm not sure. It's only 2 o'clock, so I definitely could. Also, it's like a beautiful sunny day. Everybody thinks Canada is snowy everywhere. I'm here to tell you that West Coast right now is not. I am very warm in this. It says it's 11 degrees outside. We get lucky, I guess. Okay, I'm done Starfish Sisters, and I don't have too much to add. The conflict did go exactly how I thought, but I'm not that mad about it because it's predictable, because it makes sense, you know? I do think Suze is a much better character than Phoebe, and once I finished this, I went to Goodreads and I looked at the reviews, and everybody agrees that, like, Phoebe is kind of an awful person throughout more than half of this book. But I still love that it's dual POV from 2 women who see themselves as sisters more than friends. I am happy to have read it. So I gave this 4 stars. It was a surprise 4 stars. I think until the halfway point, I would have said 3, maybe 3.5, because I did cry a little and I realized the importance of the novel as a whole. I think I will think about it moving forward this week, so it's 4 stars. But now I'm looking at my January TBR. The Warm Hands of Ghosts or We Have Always Lived in the Castle, I think, are the 2 that I'm most likely to enjoy off of my January TBR. I also don't have to read something off of my TBR if I really don't want to, but I'd prefer to. I picked it for a reason, you know? Let's maybe run down to the books and go from there. I can see one of these 2 getting a high rating from me. This one, the prompt was a morally gray character, and this one, the prompt was takes place in the current season. Maybe I'll start here. This will be book number 4. We'll see if it's 5 stars. I feel like I'm like being questioned by a detective right now. It's Saturday. I would like to have this video up by like Wednesday or Thursday. Friday at the very latest. I have to keep that in mind too. I don't usually want to just go to short books because they're short, but I am going to choose this one for that reason and because I think it might be a 5-star. I have no idea. I have never read anything by Shirley Jackson. This is one of the best from her according to the internet, which I don't always agree with, but I think we'll start here and see how I feel. Shirley Jackson kept diaries which she wrote in different voices. Recognizing her various moods, she gave them all names. I already love it. Oh my goodness, I'm 2 paragraphs in and I already love it. The last time I glanced at the library books on the kitchen shelf, they were more than 5 months overdue, and I had wondered whether I would have chosen differently if I had known that these were the last books, the ones which would stand forever on our kitchen shelf. I already want to highlight the whole page. Ooh, this is promising. I am 56 pages in, so just about to start chapter 3, and I am really liking this book. I think I had no idea what it was about, even after reading the blurb when I bought it. It still left a little bit to the imagination and a lot unknown, and I'm happy about that because I did not realize that that is what this is about. I don't want to ruin it for anybody else either. I think the writing is wonderful. I have enjoyed every single sentence that I have read. The narration from the main character, Mary Catherine, her inner dialogue and her narration gets repetitive, but you can tell that it's on purpose and it's for a purpose, and it's just kind of her going through the motions and like, this is what we do every Tuesday and Friday, and this is what happens this day of the week, and this is what happens at this point. It's just super weird, and you're in her head and you still don't understand her at all, and there's just kind of this underlying tension always. It's always there. So she starts by going to town and the tension is very overt and not underlying at all. It just is there, and then you kind of follow her and she just feels tense all the time. I think we just had that last day that she left the house and some stuff happened, some really weird stuff happened, and we learned a lot about this family, this little trio that lives in the house. So I'm curious to see why she hasn't left the house since this. It just seems fun while also being dark. This is a good contender for 5 stars. I'm going to finish it now. I'm going to make myself a coffee. I think it's under 200 pages. Yeah. So I have less than 150 pages to read. So I'm going to do that right now. And then I will come back and I will let you know my final thoughts. I finished We Have Always Lived in the Castle yesterday. I really did enjoy it. I had so much fun reading this book, and I think because it's completely out of my comfort zone, and actually it was a lot more sinister than I expected it to be. This prompt for my January TBR was a morally gray main character, and I had to actually look it up. I was like, hey, does this have a morally gray main character? Because I wanted to read it, and the internet was a resounding yes. So that's as much as I knew going in. And I do want to read every single thing that Shirley Jackson has written because of this. I think that the first half of this book was a lot stronger than the second half. I hate to say it, but I'm rating it like 4.5. I think I'm settling on 4.5, which is so unfortunate because I really wanted this to be a 5-star read because I really enjoyed it and because I would like to finish this video. But that's okay. I'm not gonna force it. I'm not gonna fake it because it wasn't a 5-star read. I think that there were too many things alluding to the ending being similar to what it was for it to surprise me, and I really wanted it to surprise me, but it wasn't a surprise. What was supposed to be, I think, a big moment at the end was not as big as I hoped it would be. But for less than 200 pages, this book did a lot. And I kept wanting to compare it to Knives Out just because of like the weird vibe, which I think is still true, but I think mostly I was actually just picturing that house. These people are very strange. It's just kind of creepy. So I finished that yesterday as planned. 4th book of this video done. So, sorry, I'm gonna move you down a little bit because I was sitting on my feet and they are asleep. So I picked up The Warm Hands of Ghosts and I read the first chapter and I'm really liking it so far. I have no idea if this is gonna be a 5-star book. I have no idea really what it's about, just that it mixes historical fiction with magical realism, I assume, and like there's a little bit of ghostiness in it. That's all I know. She already made a comment about her dad maybe coming back, walking out of the water, but she doesn't believe in ghosts in the first chapter. I bought this book because it has great reviews from people whose reviews I trust, and it's set in Halifax for the most part. I think she goes to Belgium. Yeah, she returns to Belgium. She is Laura. This she I keep talking about. She is a combat nurse during World War I. She lives in Halifax, where she was just sent back to because she was injured while she was nursing on the front. And then like 2 or 3 weeks after she got back, the Halifax explosion occurred, which was very traumatic, but they also needed her expertise in that hospital because of it. I think that she is a very strong character already, which I really appreciate. So I think it's something about her parents died in the explosion, as we are told in chapter 1. I'm not ruining anything there. And her brother, she is told, was killed in action. But then it says November 1917, Freddie awakens after an explosion to find himself trapped in an overturned pillbox. So she, I think, thinks he escaped, and they presume him as dead, I'm pretty sure, because she's saying she just got a crate of his clothes, but no letter. I will let you know how it's going. I think this is my last shot, though. If this is not a 5-star, I have to upload this anyway, and I can't make the title a lie. All right. I have the important stuff. Oh, Rib, I love you. Chai latte, a dark Reese, and a dark Ferrero straight out of the fridge. My book, and sourdough dough that needs to rise for another 50 minutes. This is where you'll find me until that point. And then she'll probably take the dogs out, have some din. We'll see where I'm at. Okay. This fair defect of nature. I love titled chapters. Can I say that not enough books have titled chapters lately? Just an aside. People like to point out that if mankind had learned to fly and see bullets inside living skin and sail underwater, then it stood to reason that they could talk to the dead. Some weird shit's happening already. Oh my goodness. What? I am 100 pages in to The Warm Hands of Ghosts, and this is a one more chapter book. I just wanted to keep reading last night, and the next chapter I think was going to take me like 15 minutes because it's quite long. I was just guessing. Yeah, it's like 15 pages. I put it down last night and I'm excited to keep reading, which I can't do yet. I have a little bit more to do first, but I thought I would just give you an update because it feels like there's potential for a 5-star here. I'm loving this book. I think it's very interesting. It's not like anything I've ever read before. I really like the writing. I did quickly reread the back again just to make sure I'm not spoiling anything. And it is in the back blurb. So her brother, Freddie, wakes up in the ground with another man, and they try to get out, and this other man is a German, and they have gotten out, and now they're not sure what to do because they feel like they have each other's backs and like they survived this awful thing together, but they are technically enemies. And it's a very interesting concept. The other thing that's very interesting is Freddie's perspective is November 1917, and for his sister Laura, we are in February 1918. So she is told he's dead in January. We're getting his perspective 2 months earlier. So we still actually don't really know what's going on. So anything could happen still because it's not happening in a parallel timeline. It's happening 2 months apart from each other. Now Laura is making some new friends with women that she's traveling back to Europe with so that she can go back on the front and work in a hospital. A lady named Mary who has a private hospital, which she's not allowed to call a hospital because she's a woman and women can't run hospitals at the front. Anyway, an aid station that she says is a hospital because it has an OR and it has an x-ray machine and it has everything. Laura is on her way to go and work there just to get some answers about her brother. And another woman who she became friends with, who's already friends with Mary, named, they keep calling her nickname and it's getting me confused. They're calling her Pim. What's her real name? Penelope. She has a new friend named Penelope who goes by the nickname Pim, and she went along with them because she is a widow and she just found out that her son died in the army, and she's like, I need something to do with my time. So she's going along. Something else that's fun is that Laura and Freddie's parents were doomsdayers, I guess. Her mom always believed that the end was coming, and she was always saying to her kids, this is the last year we're gonna be here. So Laura is always living with those things and those conversations in the back of her mind every time something happens. And she's said a comment that I actually highlighted because I loved it so much. Armageddon was a fire in the harbor, a box delivered on a cold day. It wasn't one great tragedy. but 10 million tiny ones, and everyone faced theirs alone. I'm gonna get back to work. I'm gonna do work for a little bit, and then we're gonna walk the dogs, and then I'm gonna hopefully finish this tonight. I might stay up too late to do it. Tomorrow is rest day, so I don't have to work out in the morning. I might just stay up late and try to finish this book. I like 200 pages. Hopefully I can get this done tonight. But so far, very good. And I just wanted to keep reading yesterday. That is great news. It is 9 p.m. and I have read another 100 pages of this. I believe I'm on page 200. Yeah. So I have about 100 pages left. We took the dogs on a nice walk, and then Zach and I just watched some TV together. So now I'm gonna read at least till 10 and then see how I feel. But currently, I'm kind of obsessed with this book. The cat is pushing up against the camera. I am shocked to be reading a book that is unlike anything I've ever read. Obviously it's still possible, but I feel like everything feels influenced by other things these days, and this feels completely original, long-winded and intricate, and I'm learning things about characters, and I'm so curious what all of this build-up is going to erupt into, because there's so much build up. I feel like normally I would think a story like this that's leading into something for 200 pages is a little bit slow going, but it works, it fits, it's building this tension and this creepiness. I didn't expect it to be this creepy, and I love it. There is this man who, let me see how he's described on the back. They take refuge with a mysterious man who seems to have the power to make the hellscape of the trenches disappear. So I probably actually shouldn't say more than that, except for this guy is eerie, and there are stories about him. People meet him, and once they do, they kind of go looking for him again because he makes the awfulness of what's going on around them disappear. I will say Freddie seeks it out and is looking for this escape from this man, while Laura, his sister, is like, if there was any magic in this world, war wouldn't exist. We wouldn't be going through this, because if there was magic in the world that was real, whoever is in charge of it would make this stuff disappear. So it's very interesting, their opposite worldviews, and she's trying to come up with a rational explanation for everything going on, and a lot of other people around her take the escape as it comes because they need it so bad. I love it. I love the different characters. I feel like they're all very human and very believable characters, the way that they talk to each other, and they each have their own kind of humor, and you always expect relationships to go one way, but then they get a little bit more developed and their real characters come out and they go a different way, and I think it's just such a wonderful book. She is working again at this hospital and hearing these stories from people, but also learning a lot from the doctor in charge there, and she is kind of a powerhouse of a woman, and I love that. Yeah, it's very good. I'm excited. I want to stop talking to you so that I can just finish this because it's so good. I'll let you know my final thoughts tomorrow, but at this point, it's a 5-star, and I'm not even faking it so that I can be done this video. What are they watching? I have like 50 pages left. It is so frustrating and so beautiful at the same time. Oh my goodness. I can't believe it. The most grown-up magic book I've ever read. I'm so frustrated. Ugh. It's 10:30. Can't stop reading. Can you hear this? Every night. Every night. Oh, it's so loud. Nothing makes me more angry than someone saying, "You lied to me, you lied to me," knowing that they've been lying. She was afraid her hope would pull her into madness with him, afraid she was already there, afraid they both were sane and the world was infinitely stranger than she'd thought. There's too many unknowns for being like 40 pages away from the end. I can't handle it. What the hell is going on? Crazy shit just happened. I think I understand, but they're gonna blame the wrong person. Holy shit. Holy shit. Yeah, 5 stars. Yeah. 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 11:30. We'll talk about it tomorrow. I found a 5-star book and I am thrilled about it. I absolutely loved The Warm Hands of Ghosts. It is so tragically beautiful. It takes something real and raw that happened in history and gives you friendship, love, heartbreak, trauma, beauty. Oh, this book, you know when you finish a book and you rate it 5 stars and then you go to Goodreads and you look at the reviews and you're like, you know what? I understand these people who didn't love the book. And then sometimes you go and you look at the 1-star reviews and you're like, no, they're wrong. And that is how I felt about this book. The low ratings actually made me a little bit angry because I don't see how anyone can see something negative about this book. There were a couple of reviews that talked about a messy plot and I just don't understand because the plot was perfect. I honestly don't know if I would change one thing about this book, which is not something I say often. Even 5 stars sometimes I'm like, oh, this I didn't love or this I didn't love. I don't think there's one thing that I would change. This book was perfect. I am worried now after finding this 5-star read in January, like I was hoping to do. I'm worried that I will not find something better throughout the entire year, and I've already read my best book of 2026. So now the goal is going to be to top The Warm Hands of Ghosts. I feel like I can't add much more to everything I already said, but it has been a long time since I have read a book up to midnight. Didn't have to force myself to do it. I did it during Vlogmas with House of Sky and Breath, but I had to force myself to do it 2 nights in a row just to get through it, and this one I wished it could have lasted longer. There were things that I was expecting to happen that semi-happened, but not 100% the way that I expected. And there were things that I didn't expect to happen that happened. And this book is it's just perfect. So I'm ending on a huge high with this one. And that wraps this up. It took 5 books, but I found a 5-star. And so I am thrilled. I will leave you there. And thank you for coming. See you next week.